last I checked, President Obama is no longer in office.
Exactly.
President Trump is in office. And this "but Obama" defense, doesn't work for me. That's not to say using tear gas. I think it's immoral when you're using tear gas against children. But ProPublica just found that the Trump administration has secretly continued to separate kids from their families. The Obama administration never did that.
But I'm just,
the ACLU says that kind of separation is unprecedented. So this whole, but Obama did it, but Obama did it. I don't care what Obama did. I don't care what Trump is doing right here, right now.
Meanwhile, Homeland Secretary Kirstjen Nielsen shooting down claims that all the migrants are asylum seekers.
Ultimately, we only see about 9%, 10% of Central Americans who make an asylum claim actually be granted asylum by an immigration judge. If you're coming to get a job, that's not a claim for asylum. If you're coming to be with your family, that's not a claim for asylum.
So, Jesse, why don't you respond to what you just saw on The View? I think she was making the argument that this is whataboutism, and of course we got a crisis now.
You came to the right person about whataboutism, Juan. And I'll get to that in a minute. I do want to say about the separating the children thing. Someone was just brought over here with a young person, and they found out that it wasn't a relationship at all. He was raping her and trafficking her. And also, the Obama administration was responsible for placing young people in human smuggling rings. They brought them up to Ohio and were working them like 7 days a week, 16 hours a day. And, if Trump had done that, could you imagine the outrage? Talk about whataboutism. I want to do a little experiment with you.
Please, go right
Let's
ahead.
reverse the name Trump and Obama with Obama scandals, okay?
Okay.
And let's just see how you react.
Okay.
Let's say there were alt-righters in MAGA hats with billy clubs outside of a polling station intimidating black voters from voting. And then AG at the time, Whitaker, let's say, just give him a slap on the wrist, okay? How would you feel about that? Also, do another one. What about if Trump sold Mexican cartels handguns and rifles, and those rifles shot a U.S. Border Patrol agent, and then Whitaker wouldn't give any documents to Congress and was held in contempt? Outrageous! What if Trump bombed the bejesus out of Libya, got the dictator out of there, created a failed state, then their ambassador died, and then they blamed it on a filmmaker and arrested him and then lied about it? Imagine if Trump had done some of the things that Obama did. You guys would have been freaking out.
I think you're in a fevered state, but I do think when these things happen,
yes,
you absolutely went bonkers on Obama. Am I right?
Justifiably.
Okay. I just want to be clear. So, Emily, the argument here, I think, comes down to this, that there were incidents, repeated incidents, in which the Obama administration used tear gas at the border. And the question is whether or not, and this is the argument coming from the left, they use them on children and people seeking asylum as opposed to people who were engaged in assaults versus the Customs and Border Patrol agents.
Right. I think that argument starts parsing and it gets beside the point, which is the fact that border skirmishes have decreased from the past administration to now, and that is notwithstanding the fact that drug and cartel involvement has increased in the last 8 years by almost 40%, and smuggling seizures at the border have increased by a factor of 10. So what I'm trying to say is that the efficiency at the border now and the respect we should have for those who are securing our border physically for us at the southern line right now should be off the charts. And to go and to respond to the comment on The View, to me it belies an ignorance. It's exactly the point. We should care what happened under the prior administration because we should know what the laws are and what the laws aren't and where the confusion lies and why a subsequent administration can do things just like a prior one did or didn't, so that we know and can lobby our legislators and stop talking about it on talk shows and actually have something substantive to say.
Well, so Dana,
I'm going to yield my time to Emily.
Yeah, but the question is, Dana, again, the use of tear gas or similar materials against children. I think that's what, especially those pictures,
just remember,
caught the attention of the American people.
Of course, and I go back to this. I don't think there's a single Border Patrol agent that wanted to use tear gas. They don't want to have to be in this position. And remember, tear gas is a way to deal with crowds that are getting out of control in a way that doesn't have disproportionate force, right? And you use tear gas to disperse the crowd. That's not that they want to do it. That's why the Obama team did it. That is why it's happening. And remember, it's not the Border Patrol or the Trump administration that brought the children up. One thing that I think is good is that you started to hear reports today that some of the people there are realizing that they are not going to get asylum. This is not going to work, and they're deciding to turn back.
And Greg, you know, what we have is a situation there in San Ysidro where you have now reports of squalid conditions for people, long waits, which comes to Dana's point as to why people may be just leaving. And the question is, are we, in fact, or is the Trump administration, in fact, creating a situation where people don't even get to apply for a legal
That's
asylum?
an easy question. Of course not. For one thing, they aren't gassing children. That is what they're trying to do is say, under Obama, we only shot these things at adults. But the Trump administration, they're aiming at kids. That is not true. That's fake. Okay, here's an uncomfortable truth about all this. In terms of pepper spray and gas, Trump has actually, sounds to me, Obama did it 80 times, that Trump uses less of it because Trump's stance on immigration was unambiguous. He was metaphorically the wall. He said, don't come here. We are going to repel you. We do not believe that you are refugees. We believe you are cutting in line. Therefore, that gave a message. Fewer people were coming. And therefore, you didn't need to use these kind of dispersing effects. So I think President Obama may seem more compassionate. But by being ambiguous about the border and not telling people right away what our stance is, encouraged people to come, and then you have to disperse them. But the compassionate way is law and order and telling them, look, this is what's going to happen. If you come here, this is what's going to happen. But if you do it the right way, because the best answer is compassion and order. That's what we have. That's why we let in hundreds of thousands of people every year, because we're compassionate and we have an orderly process. When you violate the process and you rush and you throw bottles and rocks, they're going to shoot, spray at you, but they're not going to shoot it at kids. They're trying to get the guys that are throwing the bottles, so that's a lie.
I don't think it's a lie, and in fact, if you look at, despite this...
So you're saying our Border Patrol were aiming it at the kids?
No,
let's get that little kid. You were insinuating that.
No, I'm saying there were kids there, but anyway, the larger point, to my mind...
Which I'm right.
Well, that's always true. That's always true. But the larger point is that despite this recent thing with the caravan, in fact, border crossings long continue to go down.
All right, he was once her defender, but now her offender. Stormy Daniels blasting the hairless haggler, Michael Avenatti, saying the courtroom cue ball sued Trump for defamation without her permission and is demanding answers about donations that she received from donors, but she never saw. Quote, for months I've asked Michael Avenatti to give me accounting information about the fund my supporters so generously donated for my safety and legal defense. Come on, guys. He has repeatedly ignored those requests. So we went to Mr. Avenatti for comment. He's lost a lot of weight there. All right, Emily, you're the lawyer here, so you claim. I haven't seen any evidence of it.
Oh, God.
How is this guy, tell me something, how is he not being investigated by the ABA or disbarred? I mean, a lot of the stuff he does is really shady.
I totally agree. He should be. And here's what viewers need to understand. So first of all, not only does he come to the table already with a background being investigated for fraud, being accused of fraud, as well as bankruptcy and issues with funds with his clients and his prior firm, but also the single, or just to dovetail, the single largest reason that attorneys are disciplined and or disbarred is for commingling funds. It's basically for being messy with finances and in any way doing anything wrong with clients' dollars. Every single one has to be accounted for appropriately and in line with a contract. And he claims, well, the scope has changed and therefore, I'm setting up this new fund. Well, her contract didn't. And the other largest thing is that the ethics rules are clear. They are staunch that any type of material decision is a client's to make solely. It is never the attorney's. So the fact that he filed the suit on her behalf without her even input or knowledge, it's absolutely crazy. Of course he should be referred for disbarment and sued for fraud and probably malpractice too.
Wait a second, disbarment?
Yes.
Wait a second.
There's a spectrum of discipline too that really
I think he's got a lot of issues. I don't think there's any question. But the fact is, he said all she's paid him is $100, and that the money that's come in and all these GoFundMe or whatever things that were set up was used for her security, used to help her deal with this situation. The one point that you made that struck me is that she says that the defamation suit filed against President Trump was not done with her consent. which would seem like crazy to me. That you got to have the client's consent. But how many lawyers have unhappy clients? I don't think there's a shortage of them.
Yeah, that's true. We don't have time because we have a big surprise coming up.
I know.
Yes.
I'm nervous about that.
Yes, you should be. Dana, I don't think any woman who ends up in this guy's orbit comes out any better.
You know what this is?
What?
It's a war on women.
It is!
It's a war on women.
W-O-M-Y-N.
That's right.
Yeah, is that all you're going to say?
Well, look, yeah, because I know we got to go, and then I don't want to take up too much time. But really, like, if you look, like, so she's in this situation. She's asking him, "Where's the money?" Like, and she apparently, as from previous reporting, we have heard that she could use it.
Yeah.
She needs it, and also, why does she need security? So that he could get on TV.
Right.
It's his fault.
Right. You know what? She's in financial straits. I hope she doesn't turn to porn.
Oh my God.
You know, because it's not a good life,
War
Jesse.
on women too.
Yeah, well, yeah, I don't know anything about that life, Greg, but thanks for coming to me on that.
Yeah. Well, what do you think, in general, about whatever?
I mean, I think security costs are cheap. I don't know how he's racked up $600,000 on security for this woman. It doesn't make sense to me. When you have multiple GoFundMe pages popping up and shutting down, that's a really big red flag. And I also heard word in one of the reports that he tried to start representing members of the caravan, and he was actually booted out because he was so ridiculous in his temperament and in his style that even the people in the caravan and the other lawyers around that were trying to do noble things said, dude, get the heck out of here.
He's victim shopping.
He is.
He positions himself as the rescuing white knight.
Right.
And then he ends up screwing the person he's representing.
Exactly right.
Metaphorically, that is. All right.